About 10 days ago, I wrote and talked about three position battles that I felt were ongoing as LSU was in the middle of fall camp. And while I technically think they're still in fall camp, like you're reaching the end of quote unquote camp. You're going to get into Clemson preparation here pretty quickly. School starts in a little bit over a week. So you've got the end of camp coming. And what Brian Kelly told us in the summer when he was talking about how to better prepare for a season opener, he talked about, okay, we've got to get our depth chart, our starters pegged a little bit earlier and then prep them. Not battling for positions, not self-evaluating. We need to find out who the guys are and then start prepping for the game. And so I think you're reaching that point in the calendar, right? And I think that as we are able to watch practice, and we get more access than most, I'm ready to call three of the position battles. I'm ready to tell you who I believe has been determined as starters at those three positions. One of the ones I talked about was safety. And still, if you go out to practice and you watch a period of 7-on-7 where they run 9 reps, you're going to get some substitutions in and out. If you go out there and you see a period where the offense goes 8 plays down the field, the safeties still rotate a little bit. But I believe the first 2 safeties that are playing, and by the way, the first 2 safeties that Ashton Stamps called by name yesterday in player reviews when asked about communication, I think those 2 are the starters. And I do not believe it is the incumbent in Jarvin Gilbert. I think LSU's 2 safety starters are A.J. Hulsey and DeMarcus Cooley. And it's not surprising. When LSU goes into the transfer portal, they're going to get transfers to make an impact. You're spending a significant amount of money out of your budget to do that, and you don't generally spend a bunch of money for guys to sit on the sideline. I think those guys came here to play. Now, Hulsey, I told you from the first day of practice, I've seen him on paper, 24 tackles in a single game at New Mexico, Big 12 newcomer of the year the next year, first team All-ACC the next year, led the league in interceptions. Like, he's been massively productive all 3 years over 2 different stops. And then I got to look at him the first day of fall practice, and I go, okay, that's SEC size. The production is wild. He's going to start. And I told you the first week I thought that Hulsey would start. I did not have a good feel for who the next guy would be. You had Gilbert, who's coming back with a healthy shoulder that he injured last year. You've got Deshaun Spears, massive upside based on his size and speed, 4-star recruit, top 10 safety in the country. You got Javian Toviano, big-time recruit out of Texas, finally finding a spot after he played some corner his true freshman year, and then he's played some nickel, and he's played some safety, and he's played some star, and what are you going to do with him? Well, now they got him back at safety, so he's at home. Does he progress? And then you got Cooley. And it appears to me that Cooley's the guy. Now, DeMarcus Cooley played a lot of nickel last year at NC State. And if you wanted to bump him down to nickel and play somebody else's safety, I would have understood that completely. Play a guy that's played a lot of safety at safety, play a guy that's played a lot of nickel at nickel, okay. But what you got right now is Harold Perkins handling that star role where he plays some nickel Sam. Like, that's part of what he does. And then you might put DJ Pickett on the field and move Ashton Stamps from Mansour Lane in, and so there's not really a need for Cooley to go up there and do that. And now Gilbert's playing some star, so he might do that. So to me, DeMarcus Cooley is a safety, and I'm perfectly fine with that. He's got more size than you would think on tape, and he's clearly not afraid to get in there and tackle somebody. Ashton Stamps talked about him yesterday, said, look, that's a guy I talk to a lot. We make sure we're on the same page. The corners don't necessarily have to communicate. They're 35 yards apart. The corners and the safeties have to communicate. They're sharing one side of the field. So to me, this job is done. I'm not suggesting that there's no role for Jarvin Gilbert on this team. I'm not suggesting Javian Toviano or Deshaun Spears won't play at all. But it would now surprise me if LSU took the field for the first drive against Clemson and DeMarcus Cooley and A.J. Hulsey were not the top 2 safeties. I'm calling that position. I think it's over. The other position I'm ready to call is right guard. Brian Kelly said out loud on the record in a press conference, Braylon Moore is the center. He talked about it the first day when he was taking those reps, talked about it later on in a press conference. Braylon Moore is the center. We got that. Every first team rep thus far that I've seen, Tyree Adams left tackle, Weston Davis right tackle, they're the first 2 guys out there. They are your tackles. But guard, there's been competition. And we got a look into that when Joe Sloan met with the media over the weekend, and he said, hey, we've got a lot of competition at guard. Our tackles have done great. Braylon's been good at center. We got competition at guard. And I believe that. I think they are continuing to evaluate, and that's why you see Paul Mabenga and DJ Chester flipping a lot at left guard with the first team. You don't see Josh Thompson come out. Ori Williams has played. Cohen Eccles has played more than Ori Williams, but none of them has played significantly when you consider Josh Thompson's reps. So Josh Thompson played right guard at Northwestern last year. He is, to me, your right guard. I believe that position battle is over. I do not think Cohen Eccles, nor Ori Williams, nor really Paul Mabenga are going to usurp him for that position. So I think that one is done. I think left guard is still open. I'm not calling that one yet. Right guard, Josh Thompson, he's in. And then another one that hopefully is not important. You hope this is not important, but I think the battle has been won, is backup quarterback. I told you 10 days ago I didn't think that it was decided. I thought that there were some ups and downs for both guys. Clearly, entering this fall camp, the experience edge goes to Michael Van Buren in a landslide, because Van Buren, one, started 8 games last year as at a Southeastern Conference program. Now, it was a putrid roster, awful circumstances to throw a guy into, but he acquitted himself decently. And then he got to work in Joe Sloan's system in the spring. Colin Hurley got to LSU in the fall as a 16-year-old, turned 17 quickly thereafter, got into a car accident, and missed all the spring. So from an experience standpoint, it's not even close. Van Buren's that guy. But Van Buren had ups and downs, significant ups and downs in early going. Accuracy issues, decision-making problems. But he's also had some high moments. And when you watch him in practice, he'll miss some throws high. He'll sail some balls. Yesterday, Joe Sloan jumped his case in a 7-on-7 because he threw a ball over the middle of the field. And Joe Sloan said, if this and this happens, what's your read? And he pointed to the far left, and Sloan goes, no, it's right here to this side. So clearly there are some things that Michael Van Buren is still figuring out in terms of progressions and reads and understanding the offense. That's obvious from us going out there. But he also makes some really good throws. He's not afraid to throw it over the middle of the field in 7-on-7. He does use his legs very well, better than Nussmeier and Hurley. And he's got the experience. And now you're seeing the reps start to go significantly toward Van Buren. Hurley got some reps yesterday, certainly got reps yesterday with the second team, but Van Buren gets more of them. When they went to 11-11, Van Buren got those reps. So I think that Hurley is competing, but I think that job has been determined. If Garrett Nussmeier's got to miss any time, whether it's to tie a shoe on a play, his chin strap breaks, or he tweaks an ankle or whatever, if he's got to miss one play, one drive, 1 week, 1 month, I think Van Buren's the guy. I know that makes LSU fans crazy for even to mention that and bring it into the atmosphere, as my wife would say. But I think that job has been decided. So as you look across the LSU depth chart, at positions where there's not just a real free rotation, like wide receiver, they're going to rotate him in and out a ton. Defensive line, they're going to rotate him in and out a ton. I think those are the two that are going to rotate the most, along with running back, but Durham's clearly your guy to start those games. You pretty much got the guys you're going to go out there with. You've pretty much decided that. Now it's up for Brian Kelly and this staff to bear down and get these guys ready somehow, some way to execute better in this game against Clemson on the road than they did against USC, they did against Florida State, and they did against Florida State. They've got to find somehow, some way to get that done. And I think they gave a lot of guys a lot of options early on. They played a lot of guys. They rolled a ton of guys in and out in drills, and they're probably going to do a little bit of that moving forward. But I believe this, without any inside sourcing, without me asking or finding out, yeah, this is the deal. They're not going to talk about that at this point in the calendar. But from getting the access that we get at practice, which is substantial, knowing what we know about what these guys have done previous to this fall camp, whether it was at a different place in high school or the spring, I think you've got your answer at just about every position on the field, and you're gaining on figuring out at left guard, where I think it'll be DJ Chester. But right now, he's getting competition, at least, from Paul Mabenga. But I'm calling it A.J. Hulsey and DeMarcus Cooley, your safeties. Josh Thompson is your right guard. Michael Van Buren is your backup quarterback. Those, I believe, were position battles 2 weeks ago. I don't find them to be that for the first game as of now. If you told me somebody wiggled their way through over the course of 8-10 weeks in the regular season, that's a different discussion to have. But for right now, fall camp, performance, reps, skins on the wall, I think you understand where this thing is going. So, hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.